All right, Hamilton, Bob, you guys made it back. Chris, Joel. All right, everybody pretty much knows the routine by now. I don't know why it does that. When it freezes up and says you're having connection issues, please wait while we reconnect. I still give it a minute or two, but if it never does. It never reconnects. So if it just goes into a whirly gig, then it will come back sometimes. But when I get the message saying you're having connection issues, please wait while we try to reconnect, I just restart the stream because it's not coming back. Like if I get that message, it ain't coming back. And so of course I stand here talking and talking and talking, only to look down at my tablet and see that God knows how much of what I was saying you guys actually heard. And now I don't even remember it. All right, Joel, I'm going to take a hit off my bowl since I'm standing here holding it. And we'll just go ahead and move on to the next tank since we've been on this one for a while already. See what the room looks like without giving myself a headache. All right, we're just going to do some tropical crisps in this one. Okay, you made it back. Oh, geez, I was all the way. You stopped hearing me when I was talking about the sterile aspect of the bag. Holy crap. All right. Yeah, I'll just start over with that thought then. I went with your same reasoning there, and about the idea that if everything just comes sterile, you don't have to do anything. You just wipe the injection port down with alcohol. In my case, I sprayed it with my alcohol spray. You inject into it, and it's all sealed up. Like the only time you open the bag is towards the very end of the, I'll call it the flowering or the flushing process. And you just crack the bag open a little to let some of the CO2 out, let a little bit of oxygen in. Maybe at that point, you might introduce something. I guess maybe you might want to try to do that in a fairly sterile environment. But my idea was kind of the same as yours, is I'll just buy the stuff pre-sterilized and then I don't have to worry about it. But where I went from that, what I got to talking about from that was the idea that not only should I be able to get multiple flushes out of one bag, multiple grow cycles out of one bag, even if I only get one grow cycle out of it. From all the videos I've watched of people harvesting mushrooms out of these bags, whether it's lion's mane or shiitake or whatever, I've watched a bunch of videos of different people harvesting mushrooms in this sort of grow bag method. You get a lot of fucking mushrooms out of it, like a lot of mushrooms out of it. And if I'm getting 2 or 3 ounces of mushrooms off of one grow, and I'm getting that for $100, and then each consecutive grow is going to be cheaper than that because I already have some of the spores now. If I had to buy another bag, I'd only have to buy the bag, not the bag and spores. But even if I had to buy the whole starter kit every single time, if I'm spending $100 on several ounces of mushrooms, that's a pretty good, right now I'd have to drive all the way down to DC and back, which would take me about $20 in gas. And the cheapest mushrooms they have is $50 a bag. There is one other place down there that has a better deal, but they seem a little sketchy. Like you have to, there's no store. You have to just meet them somewhere with, it's a delivery only. Or curbside pickup. If you let them know you're, where you are and like when you're going to be there, they meet you kind of thing. So that seems a little sketchy for me. I think I'm going to stick with the place that has an actual store you can walk into and see products on the shelf. But again, I don't necessarily feel like making the hour and 40-minute drive down there. And, again, all told, that's going to be a good significant portion of time out of my day. Not to mention the dispensary is like 2 blocks from the White House, and I just don't feel like dealing with fucking military checkpoints and bullshit at this point to go get my mushrooms. And so probably not going to be heading down there anytime soon. Nope, I forgot. I tried feeding my betta fish some of these crisps last night, and he didn't seem to know what to do with them. And he finally got a hold of one, and he worked at it for a while, and it was actually adorable because when he finally let go of it, there was a little tiny bite mark in it. And so he seemed like he wasn't really sure what to do about it. And then I put some of the Vibrobites in there, which basically they look like little bloodworms. He went right after them and gobbled them up. So he clearly needs to have the bloodworms as his food, or prefers to have the bloodworms as his food. All right, and this is some kind of, does this float or sink? All right, that's floating. We got some floating pellets back here. I wasn't sure what they were. They're floating goldfish pellets, but they're really small. So we'll give the goldfish and koi some extra nummies. Wow, I actually bent down and stood back up without grunting or groaning or making any noises. Milky Way, it's white. Wow. I've got snails in all my tanks. If you see all this white stuff down there, that's all snail shells. This tank doesn't have any fancy shells in it, or snails in it, like neorites or anything like that, as far as I know. But I have a lot of pond snails and ram's horn snails in all my tanks. And then in a lot of my tanks, I also have the neorite snails. I do like the neorite snails. They're good at eating the hair algae and cyanobacteria. They clean the tank up quite nicely. All right, what died? Oh, we got a big old flower spike sticking up out of the water. It'll probably be flowering tomorrow. I also listened to The Wall last night on mushroom juice. Remember, the mushroom juice is not real psilocybin mushrooms. It's just this blend of concoction stuff. I want to send this damn company an email and ask them if they'll send me free product. Check this out. Look at that snail right there. Look how buried up that snail is. I mean, shrimp, not snail. It's one of the really bright red ones too, and it is loaded with eggs. That's pretty cool. They breed like crazy in there, but I've never actually seen one of them all bloated up and loaded with eggs like that. They carry them just like any other crustacean does, like the shrimp or the crayfish. They have all the cluster of eggs down under their little legs. That was pretty cool. Do you have any tips on mystery snails? Not really. You can't keep snails very successfully in acidic water. I will say that. I do have issues with my the shells will dissolve a little bit if you've got them in water that's too acidic. Other than that, mystery snails are pretty easy to deal with. They'll eat just about anything, dead leaves and detritus around the tank, fish food, etc. So they're not really challenging to keep. Just don't keep them in acidic water. And if you get a few of them in a tank, you probably will eventually get breeding going on, although I never did. A lot of other people seem to, though. I'm just throwing some extra algae wafer in the tank. I do that from time to time. And this tank's got a bunch of shrimp in it too. All right, it's almost 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock was when I drank my mushroom juice last night. So we can do a quick 10-minute fundraiser. If I can raise enough money, I'll drink the last of what mushroom juice I got tonight, and we'll spend the last hour enjoying that. Actually, we would spend more than the last hour doing that because it would take an hour to kick in. So we'd be here for the long haul tonight. But it would not be a whole bottle either. So I don't have a whole bottle. I've only got about a quarter of a bottle left. I got like one more nice little roll off of it, and then that bottle's empty. Anyway, I've thought about contacting the manufacturer and seeing if they'll hook up me some kind of deal where they can like provide me with product, and I'll do live streams and talk about it, or I'll even do live streams or even standalone videos and demonstrate it. And I'll show me consuming their product and talking about the whole experience, whatever. The only problem is I only get like 8 people watching my videos, and so I don't think they're really going to go for that. It's not like I heard somebody, one of the videos I was watching today was commenting on how some other channel that was supposed to be a popular channel, and they were like, I get better views than that. And they were self-depreciating. They were basically saying like, I'm not a big YouTube channel or anything, and even I get fucking more views than they do. And the video I was watching was like a month old, and it had like 300,000 views on it or something. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think my most famous video ever has 300,000 views on it. Actually, that one video I think I shot about the space heaters, I think has over 500,000 views on it now or something. That one video has probably earned me more money than all my other videos combined over these years. But I don't know. I don't think they would go for the whole, sponsoring me. That shit's getting expensive, though. I got to find some way of paying for it. I tried buying multiple bottles this time because I thought if you buy 2 bottles, you get 5% off. So I bought 2 bottles, and I didn't get 5% off because you only get that if you're not doing, I don't get any promotion codes because I do the subscription. And since I already get the 10% off and the free shipping, I don't get any other perks. I can't use coupon codes. Buying the 2 bottles, I still bought the 2 bottles because, why keep buying them one at a time? I may as well start buying them 2 at a time. If you can't tell, I really, really like this mushroom juice stuff. It's amazing. Just grab each other's faces. What the hell are you talking about? Right. So I did place that order, but that won't get shipped until tomorrow. And so, again, Thursday or Friday, it'll probably be here. So I'm trying to save what little bit I've got left for maybe another day out on the kayak, maybe for tomorrow night when I don't have to do a live stream. All right, let's go grab the hose and get a couple of tanks topped off before it gets much later. You guys can keep staring at that while I go get it. Of course, all the fish have gone down to the bottom. I should keep that in mind when I'm doing the live stream and I'm showing the discus tank. I should feed it with the flake food or something that stays suspended in the water column a lot longer, because the vibra bites and stuff that go straight to the bottom, within a couple minutes, you don't see the discus anymore. They're down in the weeds looking for all the food that fell in there. All right, let me show you this real quick. We're just going to top that tank off and hit a few others while we're down there. You can see the flower spike sticking up down there. So we should have a lotus flower, and probably tomorrow, maybe tomorrow night. They only last about 12 hours and then they die off and fade away. So they're fleeting. If I happen to catch it on video, I will, or if I happen to catch it while it still looks good, I'll try to get it on video. But it's definitely not going to be here by Wednesday's live stream. Or who knows? Maybe it's got a couple days before it really fully blooms. All right, you do that, and I'm going to do a dab of my Super Silver Haze. Remember, I'm going to have Super Silver Haze coming out of my ears for the next God knows how long, so I'm probably going to get tired of saying, this is Super Silver Haze again tonight. I just hope I got enough to last me till the next harvest, because that's going to be a while. At least 2 months, and that's if I start today. Which I'm not. God damn, that was a big dab. I'm going to top off a bunch of my tanks. What are you asking about the Bleeding Heart Tetras, Michael? I don't actually have any Bleeding Heart Tetras, do I? I might have a Bleeding Heart Tetra in my 40. I'm not sure. Yeah, calm down, everybody. One of the things about the discus that I often bring up is that discus by nature are bottom feeders. I know people tend to think of bottom feeders as some kind of derogatory term or whatever, but in reality, bottom feeders are just fish that feed in a particular location, and the bottom is where they happen to feed from. So while discus will eat from the water column or even peck stuff off the surface of the water, they're designed by nature to just sort of roll forward and be mouth downward and just peck right off the bottom. Because that's what they do in nature, is they live in like flooded forests and stuff, and they're they can slip in between the roots and get down in the leaves and the sticks and stuff on the forest floor and root through the leaf litter. So watching my discus rummage around on the bottom of the tank might seem unusual to some people, but it's actually very natural behavior for discus. I think the reason it seems so unnatural is because up until recently, most discus keepers would just keep them in bare glass tanks with nothing. And so when they would feed the discus, there'd be nothing on the bottom of the tank for them to eat. They would just eat whatever was in the water column, and then it was pretty much gone. And then that was their food. And of course, beef heart probably floats. So I don't know, but I see my discus feeding off the bottom more often than not, and that just looks perfectly normal and natural to me. It looks like they were designed to do it. All right, that's about enough water for this tank, and so we're gonna go ahead and chop off this tank since I'm standing right here, and this will only take a half a moment. Actually, we're gonna also grab a big handful of stupid Java moss and pull it out of here while I'm standing here. Oh yeah, look at that. That's a score there. It's a huge wad of Java moss coming out of there. All right, so now we're going to make our way that way. And this is one of the benefits of having a pond in the room. Pond allows me to do that. So we're going to go from that tank. We're going to hit the 125, which I can go from tank to tank.
And then we're probably going to come back around this way and go around and go top off the 40, and then ultimately we're going to hit the Garami tank and the 29, and so everybody will be done. I guess we can get this closed now. All right. Let me get a drink of my tea here, and then we'll do another dab real quick, and then we will move to the next tank. Oh, I never finished my thought about The Wall. The Wall is and always has been my favorite album of all time, and is certainly my favorite Pink Floyd album, but it's my favorite album ever. Incredible, amazing piece of music. And throughout my life, it has had a lot of different sort of personal meaning to me. And, you know, as I got older and I began to understand what the real story behind the album is, it's much more superficial. Basically, the story of Roger Waters and becoming jaded with his own audience, and you know, basically not caring about the people that got him famous in the first place and the industry and all that kind of stuff. But it's also got other underlying meanings and stuff like that behind it too. And so it's actually got a lot of underlying meanings and stuff. And so I heard somebody make a comment about the album the other day, and I thought, I never really even thought about it like that. And so last night I listened to it again with my, mushroom brain going while I was listening to it. And I was just like, oh my God. I got so much more out of it. Once again, I've been listening to that album since I was a fucking kid. Since I was 10, I've been listening to this album. And I'm still like just having whole new experiences with it and still just getting complete new meanings out of it. It was fucking brilliant. It's an amazing album. It really is. So that's actually what I'm looking forward to. Again, next time I do mushrooms, this time I'm going to put my headphones on and really focus on it. I was just kind of half-ass listening to it last night with it on my boombox behind me. I was chatting with Zini as much as I was listening to the music. So I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to focus on the music, and I think it'll be a completely different level of amazing again. And then I'm even going to do it again on real mushrooms when I'm really tripping. I read like a great comment. I watched a video of Gen Z listening to Dark Side of the Moon for the first time, and it was interesting to get their perception of it or everything. But then they went back 6 months later and they did it again on weed. And their reaction to it when they were high was just so different. It was like they got it on a whole different level. And of course, I put in the comments like, now do it on acid. You listen to Dark Side on acid, and it goes to a whole different level. But somebody in the comment section wrote the greatest comment about Pink Floyd ever. They said that you don't need weed to fully appreciate marijuana. I mean, you don't need weed to fully appreciate Pink Floyd. You need Pink Floyd to fully appreciate marijuana. And I thought that's a great way of saying that. It really is. Like, you just don't appreciate how awesome everything can become on weed until you've listened to Pink Floyd on weed. Again, they're the absolutely best psychedelic band ever in the entire world. And yet the Grateful Stupid fucking country bumpkin dead gets all the credit for being a psychedelic acid band. Fucking losers. And any deadheads in the audience? Yeah, I said it. Losers. I can't stand the Grateful Dead. I never did like them. Don't have any painted glass tetras. All right, Joel, you enjoy your evening if you're still there. And we are getting close to moving to the next tank. Did I not turn the water all the way on or something? It seems to be taking an awfully long time to top off this 40. And that's turned all the way on. Well, I'm running all cold. I'm not running any hot water. But that shouldn't make that much of a difference. When I run the hot water, I don't run that much hot water. Just enough to cut the edge off the coldness, get it up to, 75 degrees or something. It's getting there. It's slowly raising. And so once that's topped off, we'll move over to get it put into that tank. You don't need weed to appreciate marijuana. You need marijuana to appreciate weed. Hey, Eugene. With all your fancy name there. That's the quote of the day. And you can tell it came from a stoned person. I should put that on a shirt. I thought this was flowing almost like nothing. I wonder if we've got a kink in the line somewhere. We do, right here. No wonder it's not flowing. There we go. I really don't like this Vivor hose. It's really, really soft and will kink up very easily. See, that's what it's supposed to be doing. I'm thinking it should only take a couple minutes to top off a 40, and we stood there for what, 5 minutes? I checked the one end to make sure the water was turned all the way on, but I didn't bother to check this end to make sure the water was still coming out of it. All right. So now we're going to top that one off, which also should not take very long. Let's see. I think I got enough that we can just go down and around and keep going past the end. Or maybe not. We'll come back around. I don't like to go down and over to this tank. I like to come up this way and then go around this side. And it's more of a direct line than going all the way around the pond to get to that tank. So once that's topped off, we'll move back. Hey, Robert, how are you? I am an icon. It's just a shame more people don't realize it. If they only knew what an icon I truly am. See, it's not even going to take us as long to top off the 125 as it did for us to do that fucking 40 with a damn kink in the hose. All right, get you back here out of my way. And it looks like this filter is clogged up again. We got no water flow on that one. Water my dragon's breath a little bit. Water this stuff a little bit. Yeah, that won't take long. 55 doesn't need it. We'll get the Garami tank opened up. intake has so much crap stuck on it, which is clogging it up. Now that that's clear, it's flowing fine. My air stone's not blowing very much air, so I don't know if it's the air stone itself needs to be fixed or the pump is getting weak. I hope I don't have to get in there and pump on this thing, which I think I'm going to have to. Oh, shit. What's this tank doing? It's all right. Pretty close. I got distracted by doing one thing and almost forgot about the other. All right. Let me... Oh, no. It's starting to flow again. I thought I had a vapor lock in there, but it's... All right. We got some good flow. All right. Now we got to finish the Urami tank. And then we'll get to 29. Drop ceilings are pretty normal around here, especially in finished basements. All right. Another close call. This thing fills up fast when you're don't have a kink in the hose. All right, and this 29 will be the final tank. And we'll leave it in the pond while I go turn it off. All right. Work for the evening is done. That's all I really wanted to do was get a few of these tanks topped off. Did some pretty good sized water changes on everybody that needed it fairly recently, so I don't think we need to worry about that for a while. The next tank that's going to get a water change is probably going to be the 55 because I'm probably going to need to get in there and clear some of that stupid crypt out again. It's just growing like mad, taking over the tank once again. All right, let me sit you guys down. Holy crap, it's only 10 after 9. All right, you guys sit here and wait patiently for a minute. I'm going to run in the other room for a moment. I'm going to put you on mute. All right. I'm so tempted to open up that mushroom bag and see if anything's going on in there. Technically, I'm not supposed to do it at least till the 25th. They say to give it 2 to 3 weeks. So the 25th will be 2 weeks, which is tomorrow. That's the bare minimum. But I'm thinking, in less than 3 hours, it'll be the 25th technically. So I'm going to leave it alone. I'm not going to touch it at least till tomorrow afternoon. We'll give it the full 2 weeks, and I did it at like 3 in the afternoon. So we'll wait at least till tomorrow afternoon to check it. And I don't have to do anything necessarily. If it's not what I expect to see or it's still really small, I can just carefully put it back and let it sit for another week. I'm just hoping I see something in there, at the point when I open it up. And I even took the advice of one of the I looked at a bunch of different products, and one of the products recommended that when you inject the spores into the medium, don't stick the needle straight in and inject the spores into the middle of the medium. Go in at an angle and inject the spores down along sort of the front of the medium. So as it starts to grow, you'll be able to see it rather than having it grow deep inside the medium. And when I did it and I injected it, I actually saw some of the spore liquid sort of run down the front of the bag and soak into the medium right there in the front. So the spores were injected right into the front of the bag. And it's clear plastic, so you can see in there and see everything. So I should have a just big, nice white clump of mycelium growing right around that vent, or injection port, rather. So we'll see. My members will be the first to know on Wednesday's member stream. I'll let you know what the results were. Hey, Craig. You want more forearm, Zany? I'll give you forearm. I'm trying to be patient, Laura, but I'm excited. I'm not sure which fish you're asking about. That orange fish is maybe 5 to 6 inches or something. The discus are same, maybe 6 inches or something is my biggest discus in there. And we all like the biggest discus. So this poor little discus down here is about 3 inches. It's stunted because it gets bullied all the time. And I've just always left it in there. Hey, Cornish, how are you? I have no idea what hinges to get you or to tell you to get. I'd have to see the bar top and see how it's built and all that before I could figure out what hinges. And I'm not particularly handy myself either, so I'm probably the last person you want to ask what hinges or whatever to buy. I would talk to the guy at the hardware store before anything. Dave, how are you? Look at them stop signs coming in. Sandbagging is what he was doing. Steve. Are you just getting in from work, Steve? No, it's Sunday night. You didn't work tonight. All right. Anybody have any suggestions for? Well, a lot of you weren't here when I was talking about it earlier, so I should probably re-explain what I was talking about. With my YouTube channel, I feel like that it is time for the live stream to yet again metamorphose into something different. And I feel like I need to do something that would be more of a show as opposed to an interaction. Not that I couldn't interact,
But the way the live stream is set up now, it's basically just come hang out with me. I come in here with nothing prepared. I don't have anything. I literally walk in the room and start looking around to see if we need to do anything. Am I in the mood to do actual tank work? I generally don't have anything specific on my mind other than just going over what I'm thinking about for the day or what I did that afternoon. And so I rely on interaction with people. Like, if you went to a party, I wouldn't go to a party to offer a presentation. I would just go to the party to see who's there and what's going on and strike up conversations and just mingle, that doesn't really work in this live stream format. A lot of people tune in. They just want to see a show. They want to watch somebody doing something, even if it's just, something mundane. As long as they're doing something, they're talking about something, they're just occupying your interest and giving you something enjoyable to watch. And so I feel like I need to have some sort of, like, I need to make this a show of some sort. I need to be doing something during the live stream that I can check the comments, and if people are talking, I can interact or whatever, but I could also just do my thing without relying on the audience at all. And I just don't have the slightest idea what that would be. I'm not opposed to the idea of it being a fish keeping related type thing, since we're down here in the fish room and my channel is listed as a pet channel. But I'm also much more interested in like figuring out some other thing to do that I could do that would be putting on some sort of entertaining show, telling, stories. I could come up with a story each week to tell, story time with Dan or something. Although I don't know how I'd spin a story out for a couple of hours. I don't think I have that many stories. I could make shit up, I guess. I could literally tell stories for 2 hours. That wouldn't be too difficult to do. I could come up with all kind of wild shit. I don't know. We could come up with some kind of guessing game. There could be all kinds of sorts of different things I could do. I'll have to give that some more thought while I'm on mushrooms again, so my creative juices are thinking differently. All right. I don't know if Godzilla really evolved so much as he did. Mutate. I guess it's time for the channel to once again mutate into something else. I don't know. I can spin a yarn. I can tell some good stories about dumb shit I've done in my life. That's always fun. But I feel like I've told most of my good stories, at least the kind of stories I could tell here on on the YouTubes. Oh, I did listen to Laura knows who I'm talking about. I listened to a YouTube channel called Professor Iraq, and I don't listen to him often, but I listened to one of his videos today because I suspected there was going to be a story in there that I'm familiar with, but I wasn't sure if I had the details correct. And I was right on both cases. The story was in there, and I did have my details slightly off. On the Dark Side of the Moon, there's a song called Great Gig in the Sky, if you're not familiar with it. And it's all vocalization. There's no words. It's just a woman vocalizing, notes. There's no actual words. So the story I always was told, or the story I believed, the story I've always told, was that she was told what to sing and how to sing it, and she did it a couple of times, and then she asked, can I do it one more time, but can I do it the way I'd like to do it? And they said, sure, go ahead. And that's close, but that's not really exactly how it played out. And this is coming directly from Alan Parsons, who was the producer of the, he was the engineer behind the whole video. Behind the whole album. And so this is coming from Alan Parsons directly, who was in the studio at the day of recording. And so I'm going to take this to be the true story. They had this song laid out called The Great Gig in the Sky, all about death and mortality and sadness and loss and all that kind of stuff. And it's a real sort of haunting song, but they needed something else, and they wanted some vocals. And Alan Parsons says, hey, I know this young woman. She's a really good singer. She's a trained opera singer. And they said, great, bring her into the studio. They brought her in.
and they had nothing. They had no vocals. They had no nothing for her. They said, just do something, sing over this or something. And he said, the first couple times she tried a few like ooh babies and ooh yeahs and just generic stuff you'd throw into a song, and it just was falling flat. Nobody was buying it or anything like that. And then Roger Waters had said, no, I don't want words, I just want notes, just vocalize. And David Gilmour handed her a microphone and said, just do what you think feels right. And she closed her eyes, she took a breath, and she just went with it, and she just sort of went with where her emotions were taking her, and just fucking belted out the most amazing song ever. So I was pretty close, but the details of how it actually played out were slightly askew. But that really was her song. She pulled that out of thin air on the spot. And she was basically paid as a studio, she was paid for her studio time, which was probably $20 or something stupid like that at the time. And she got involved in a years-long lawsuit with Pink Floyd, who eventually settled out of court, and she won. And they now have her credited on the album as a co-writer because that was her song. Rick Wright, he did the, or I think it was Nick Mason, did the song itself, composed the song. But those were her vocals, and so she was given credit as being a co-writer on that, and also now gets royalties for all of, all of the songs or whatever. And being that it was on the best-selling album chart for 18 years straight, that's a lot of royalties. So she did all right with that one. So, well, that didn't hemorrhage too many people. We went from 30 people down to 19. People have no taste. Oh, let's see. We could do weekly bingo cards. That's true. We could do weekly bingo cards. The dumb shit I'm going to say. That would take organizing. Cookie spikes and secret agents. I don't know what you're even talking about. Joanne, how are you? Well, unless my mic wire is going bad again, which it might be. I don't see why it would be. When you say circular reflectors, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Are you talking about like the dome clip lights? Like that? That kind of thing? Still hemorrhaging people. Does my mic sound that bad? Is something going on? Where's everybody? Why is everybody fleeing? Well, it certainly had a delayed effect if that's the case tonight, Zini. I don't know. But it is 9:30 and everybody's leaving anyway, so I may as well start winding it down. let you all get your sleep for your jobs tomorrow. Although I may have to work tomorrow too. I have to see what the weather's going to do. But either way, I sure don't have to get up early. You still have to get up early tomorrow, don't you, Laura? Aren't you on that gig through September or something? God, it's almost September already. I can't believe we're into the last week of fucking August. God damn, time goes by fast. All right. Got a short day tomorrow. Nice. You missed a good day out on the water yesterday, Steve. I had that bottle of mushroom juice with me. If you'd have come out there, I'd have given you a swig. Yeah, well, the warm weather's not over, but like the summer part of the summer's over. We got Labor Day next week. Kids are going back to school. You know, you're going to start getting those autumn smells and people, you know, having to deal with leaves. I actually mowed the lawn the other day for the first time this year that I had to actually think about leaves too. Not necessarily because of autumn leaves, but end of the summer, you start having to deal with leaves because trees start getting dry and, you know, plants are dying off. And it's just that time of year. Our gardens are starting to turn yellow. Most of our flowers are sort of done for the year. It's fucking over, man. This summer fucking gone already. It's just all the plans I talked about with Steve at the beginning of the summer, these different places we wanted to go or whatever. I've been out on the kayak to my local reservoir like once in the last month. That's mainly because of shoulder injuries or whatever. Well, there's a few trees out the reservoir that are starting to change color already too, but I think that's from dryness and heat. I don't think it's, you know, usually it's a temperature thing that makes the leaves really start changing colors. And at this time of year, our coldest night that we've had so far, we're still mostly in the 50s at night. On chilly nights, there are some nights where it's, you know, actually feels like a summer night. But we have gotten down into the 50s on some nights here. Ash trees go early. No, Caesar, I'm not sure what you're talking about then with the bulbs, with the circular bulbs. You call them reflectors? No, I don't know what you're talking about. So I've certainly never tried one. I do use floodlights in my tanks, and if you had a plant that had highlighting needs and you wanted to put a floodlight on it, that would probably work. And I'm going to show you what I mean when I say floodlight. They are called par lights too. Sometimes they're this shape, and par, it gets kind of confusing because par can stand for photosynthetically active radiation. But in the case when you see par written on these, it stands for parabolic aluminumized reflector. And it's got the shiny reflector on the inside of it. This isn't really a par light because it's not parabolic and it's a focus LED. But the ones that are really bright silver inside and have an incandescent, those are called par lights because it's a parabolic aluminumized reflector. So if that's what you're talking about, these will definitely put a lot of light in a general area out in front of them and will be really good for highlighting, you know, needs plant. The world of lighting and the way they measure it and talk about it, and it can get really confusing. Hey, Mike, how are you? Yeah, that's what I was using on the discus tank, sort of. Uncle Joe, hello. Yeah, the ones I'm using, you can see them here in the background. You can see it on this tank over here. If we look right here, I've got it on that. Those are not technically the parabolic reflectors because they're LEDs and they're sort of focused through a lens. But I do know what kind you're talking about, and those are. Let me see if I've actually. I think I might have one of those too. Those are. They put a ton of light in a very pointed direction. Could have sworn I had. I got a teeny tiny one. So this is actually a little halogen light. But if you look, that is a parabolic aluminumized reflector in there. And so that's just for shelf lighting to like light up a trophy or some artwork or something like that. It's got a really nice quality light. It's halogen. And that little son of a bitch gets so hot you can't even touch it for 5 minutes after you've turned it off. I don't even know what the wattage on it is, but that's the idea behind those kinds of lights. The LEDs, which is, I use LEDs on everything. The LEDs function better, but same general principle. Let's see. Did 6 shrooms on my LEDs? Went for a walk around the neighborhood. It was interesting. Oh, so you finally ate more than 3 of them? I drank a bunch of the juice out on the reservoir yesterday, and it was a fucking blast. I had a really, really good time out on the water yesterday. I'll tell you a story about it in a second. It's not an exciting story, but it's kind of funny. If you hear me, I keep talking about like the visuals you get when you're tripping and things look like they're moving without really moving. It just kind of looks like they're moving without really going anywhere, but they're like in constant motion. And so right around the time that the shroom juice started kicking in, I had parked in a shady area and was having a smoke. And I looked out across the water and I was looking at all the trees. And the first thing I was noticing is just how many shades of green there are and all the subtle colors. And that's when I just started grinning because I realized like the mushrooms were starting to kick in. And the more I looked at it, the more I was like, man, I was seeing all this motion everywhere and it looked like all this shit was going on and everything was moving around. I was like, man, I'm getting really good visuals today. This mushroom juice is not psilocybin mushrooms, as I'll explain again. And so you don't get those kinds of visuals. And so far, every time I've taken it, I've never gotten visuals anything like this before. And I was thinking, wow, this is fucking cool. I'm really seeing some movement over there. And as I looked closer, what I began to realize, it was just a windy day, and all I was seeing was like all the trees were just moving and blowing in the fucking breeze, but all the trees were moving at slightly different, frequencies. And so it was all this, it wasn't like everything moving like grass blowing or something. And it just didn't at first look like, and it was subtle. And so it just took me a couple of minutes to really realize that I was actually seeing movement. I thought it was like that weird tripping movement that's not real movement, but it actually was just movement in the trees. And I was like, all right, that's cool. And so I'm not getting the same kind of visuals. The only visuals I get off this mushroom juice are peripheral stuff. It'll seem like stuff's moving, and I keep seeing my cats walk around. I'll see a cat walking over, and I'll look down, and there's nothing there. And out of the corner of my eye, I'll see a cat walk across the room, and I look down, and there's nothing there. I see these phantom cats like a lot on this mushroom juice, but that's the only kind of visuals I've really been getting off of it. It's not been like real tripping sort of visuals. I don't even really see trails off of them. But once you get beyond that initial little dose and you get up into a larger dose, it starts getting really nice and pleasant, and it just feels good, and you feel just right with the world. Everything looks pretty. It's just really nice stuff. Again, I'm going to have to contact this company and see if they'll sponsor me because I give them enough fucking promotion. Let's see. I don't have the label on it anymore. I threw it away because the label completely covers the bottle and it's hard to judge how much you're drinking out of it. And I wind up drinking more than I want to. But this is my mushroom juice that I keep talking about. I don't know if you can see how much is still in there, but that's all I've got left. Yeah, you can see that clear enough. That's all I got left. I drank that much yesterday. That was between out on the reservoir. I drank down to about there. And then last night I drank about that much out of it. And I had a fucking wild, and again, not like tripping, but it was the most intense experience on this yet. And I am still wondering if I drank a whole bottle of that, what it would actually do to me. And so again, I'm trying to raise money. If people will pay for one of these bottles, I'll drink the whole thing on air. I'll do a live show on a whole bottle of this, if I can get people to pay for it. But so far I've not. And I'm kind of okay with that because I'm a little nervous about what would actually happen if I did drink all of that. That's a lot. Just a couple teaspoons, and you got a nice 6 hours ahead of you. It's a really, really pleasant experience. Yeah, exactly. You found me. Exactly. If you just are going about your business, like while I was paddling along, it was more of like just a feeling good and, just being out on the kayak on a nice day or whatever. But when I stopped and I looked around, it would be just like, oh, yeah. And it's like the grin would happen. And it would just, I spent a lot of time just sitting around looking at stuff yesterday. It was a really nice day out on the water. Like I said, I spent about 7 hours out of my kayak. Because I drank it right as I was leaving the boat launch. So it took like an hour to kick in. And then I stayed out there until the sun was going down and finally came home. Hey, fish guy. So if you're interested in what this is, go to treehouse.com. It's TRE house and look up their mushroom syrup. And that's what this is. And get the grape flavor. Don't get the strawberry. The strawberry was fucking nasty. It tasted like strawberry cough medicine. The grape is actually pretty good. It tastes like really, really condensed grape lollipops. And it is a nice experience. I really like it. Don't expect psilocybin if you're an experienced, shroomer. Don't expect that. But you will have a nice, if you just go into it saying, what's this going to be like? And just be open to the experience. I really think you'll enjoy it a lot. At least I sure do. And it's like it's a really big lollipop way down into a small lollipop. And when you drink that syrup, it's a really, really thick, potent flavor in it. I also have enough head issues with my ADHD and my compulsive issues and stuff like that, that I may be really getting more out of this than somebody else may get out of it because it really makes me feel better. It makes my brain feel better when I drink this stuff. Again, I don't know what the fuck's actually in it. I got some ideas of what's in it, but I don't know for sure. But it's good shit. I do like it. All right, everybody, we're going to do a dab this time. It's still my Super Silver Haze. It's going to be Super Silver Haze for the next 2 fucking months. Yeah, I don't know. This again, the mushroom juice that they sell at the treehouse is not real psilocybin mushrooms. You could easily take this stuff and go grocery shopping, if you didn't take a ton of it. If I took a lot of it, I wouldn't necessarily want to drive, but and again, I was on the back side of it when I drove home last night. But driving wasn't an issue. It didn't feel weird. I didn't have one of those moments where I caught myself thinking like, oh, dude, focus. You're fucking like, it's again, I just can't say enough good stuff about this. There just doesn't seem to be any downside. Now, am I going to have, liver cancer next year? Who knows? I doubt it, but I don't know what any long-term effects from this stuff is, but there's no hangover to it. It's just nothing. There's just no downside. I've not experienced a bad aspect of taking this stuff other than the fucking cost. It's killing me, which is why I keep trying to get you people to pay for it for me, and it's not working. So, all right, everybody, it is almost 10 o'clock now, so we made it almost a full 2 hours. Yeah, I was wondering how you did with those cookies, Steve.
I was actually thinking about you today. I was watching a podcast, and it was somebody who's, it makes me laugh when people talk about how old they're getting when they're, in their 30s. So this person was at least realistic enough to say, I'm only 30. But they said that they were only 30, but they were talking about some of the things that they're old enough to remember when. One of the things they said was, I'm old enough to remember when edibles tasted like shit. And the only reason you could get through them was because you knew how you were going to feel in 2 hours. And I almost laughed out loud on that one because my edibles do not taste good. And when I eat them, I just keep telling myself I don't make them this is not a gourmet treat. It's just to get it in my body. So I will feel this 2 hours from now. Yeah, I told you they were pretty strong, dude. When you can taste that much of that resiness, like that's really strong. I took a batch of my um, trim and my cuttings and some little popcorn buds and all that bullshit, and I made it into one big batch of concentrate. Well, I'm in the process. That is 2 liters. This is 1,000 milliliters, so that's a liter. I've filled this up and boiled it down twice to get it all in there, and that's what it has condensed down to. You can kind of see some color through there. That is going to be blacker than fucking coal when it's all finally condensed all the way down. And that's not reclaim or res or anything. That's all from little popcorn buds and leaves and trim. Stuff that didn't come out quite right, that wasn't worth smoking, but I didn't want to just throw it away. I had a whole fucking box full of it. And so I dried it out like crispy bone dry and just crushed it down into like powder. And I had a jar with like that much in it. I just filled it with alcohol. I let it soak for a couple minutes, about 20 minutes, strained it off. And then I started working on, that's what I've been doing all afternoon. I've been just boiling the alcohol off and getting my alcohol back out of it. I have a little simple distillation rig. And so I've been getting my alcohol back out of it. And then so at some point when I finish that off and really boil it down, I'm going to have 3 or 4 grams of that shit. And so that will make for another nice batch of cookies. But it is going to be a really nasty tasting batch of cookies. So if I put enough of that stuff in the cookies to make it where you can just you can just taste it while you're eating, and it's got that oily taste to it, it's a strong cookie. I can make them so that you don't really taste it. You just think you're eating a chocolate chip cookie, and that's enough to give you a good solid buzz on. By the time it's getting up to where you can taste it, that's getting pretty strong. By the time it's kind of like nasty and you don't really want to eat it and you just kind of get through it, that's an ass whooping cookie. You're going to fucking feel that one. And Steve ate 2 of those when he was here the other night. So he had a pleasant drive home, I'm sure. That was a lot of fun for that one. Well, dude, if your urine sample looks like that, you definitely need to drink more water, my friend. That is a very dehydrated urine sample there. I ate 5 of those cookies 2 nights before, and I was just to get through 5 of them. By the time I was eating the 5th one, I was just like I was like trying not to breathe while I was chew it. I'd put it in my mouth. And I would chew just enough to get it to where I could like swash it down with some iced tea or something. Those cookies were grossing me out so bad, but I ate 5 of those motherfuckers a couple nights. That's why I gave Steve the last 2. I was like, do you want these? Because I'm done. I'm not eating any more of these fucking cookies. Because 5 of them fucking tore my ass up. I was high as shit off of 5 of them. I think I did a live stream that night, didn't I? I don't know. I might have done a live stream on those cookies. I think I did. What am I checking Discord for? Did you send me something? Because I didn't get a notification for it. All right, I'm never minding. Yeah, that's about all I can think about.
Well, the night that Steve ate the 2 cookies was the night that I drank all that other mushroom tea made from those muscaria mushrooms, and it didn't do shit to me. I did feel a little weird and spaced out. And again, I did get a really good night's sleep, but I drank a lot of that mushroom stuff. I still got the jar upstairs in the refrigerator. I don't want to throw it away. I did pay $60 for all those mushrooms, or $55 for all those mushrooms. And if it did help me sleep, I'm going to save it. You know, maybe, I don't know. I thought about drinking that on a live stream, but that would be more like a watch me do something disgusting because it didn't really have any effect on me. So maybe I'll use it as a sleep aid and drink a little bit of it at a time on nights that I can't sleep or something until it's gone. I don't know. But that muscaria, at the time, I thought that's what was in that mushroom juice that I drink, and I thought that's what was making me feel that way. And so I was hoping if I just bought those mushrooms, I could get that effect. And it turns out that those mushrooms aren't even in that syrup. That syrup's made from completely different kinds of mushrooms and has other stuff in it too. And so there's no way I can recapitulate that. If I want that feeling from that mushroom juice, I have to buy that mushroom juice, and it's expensive. God damn it. I'm used to growing my own shit. I'm hoping that once I get real psilocybin mushrooms, I'll stop drinking that and I'll just take real psilocybin. And then we'll be on a whole different level. You can do a fundraiser then. I'll take another swig of mushroom tea every time I get another $10 or something. All right, that was my last dab for the night, I think. Let me put this stuff away. All right, everybody, we'll call that last call. Any last questions or thoughts you got before we go? See if I can put this shit down without burning or injuring myself in some fashion. It's more challenging than it sounds sometimes. All right, Anna. Say goodnight to you. And anybody else saying goodnight? We do not have a chatty crowd tonight, do we? All right, Eugene, you too. Night, Art. Good night, Zini. Bob. Check out your pics on Discord. Where are they? If you tag me in them, I'll find them. Big fish. Billy Lee, good night to you. And I hope you all had a good time tonight. And we will see my members on Wednesday. Everybody else, I'll be back next Friday, 8 p.m. And maybe we'll have a bottle of mushroom to auction off and see if we can get somebody else to pay for it. I'm going to keep trying, goddammit. In the meantime, I'm going to say thanks for watching and good night.